Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into a time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
An episode of Call the Police, a show that aired on NBC. It was a summer replacement series, and I believe at this point in time it was a summer replacement for Amos and Andy. This show was originally broadcast July 20th, 1948, and it is the case of the Unknown Strangler.
Rinso, new Rinso with Solium presents Call the Police.
Attention, homicide section, flying squad detail. Murder suspect in your zone. Close in according to instructions.
Between you and the evil outside the law stands the policeman of your community. He gives up his safety that you may be safe. And sometimes he gives up his life to protect yours.
New Rinso, the soap that contains Solium, the scientific sunlight ingredient, brings you Call the Police, a new series of realistic radio dramas inspired by the courageous work of police departments all over America.
This is Commissioner Bill Grant. Putting the cuffs on a Jack the Ripper takes plenty of hard labor and all the breaks, as was demonstrated in number 3461 from the Ashland Files. Never to be forgotten is the case of the Unknown Strangler. The opening of this giant-sized comedy took place at 7:15 on the evening of July 2nd in a third-floor flat.
Just a song.
Miss Francie Abley, 47-year-old spinster who earned a small living teaching singing, was making herself a bite of dinner in her modest 2x4 kitchenette.
Sure. Oh, dear. There goes the doorbell. Probably somebody to inquire about lessons. Just a moment, please. Just a moment. I hear you. I'm coming. Won't you step in? I'm preparing a little food in the kitchen, so if you'll excuse me. Let me by. Will you let me by, please? I'm going to scream for help. Do you hear me? I'm going to scream for help.
That was the curtain raiser. We found the dead woman 2 hours later, and nothing, absolutely nothing, to give us any insight into the motive behind the crime. 56 hours later, the curtain went up on the second chorus of the Dance of Death. On the night of July 6th, an aging lawyer by the name of Joel Crocker creaked up the steps to his ancient office.
What? I didn't know there was anyone waiting for me. I'm terribly sorry, sir. If you'll just come along into the inner office, leave the door open, if you please. It's cooler that way. Now, just have a seat. Now, how dare you? How dare you strike me in my... How dare
And now there were two. Two crimes as alike as a pair of peas in a pod. Illogical death without reason or motive. The newspapers didn't catch on for 12 hours. Then suddenly they made the tie-up between the Abley and Crocker murders, and every sheet in town was off to the races.
Unknown Strangler takes double toll.
Police helpless to stop homicidal murderers.
Where will the killer strike next?
Bill, stop pacing. Bill, please.
Take a gander at those papers, Libby. A banner day for the press. This photo layout looks like a remake of The Cat and the Canary.
May I say something?
Say what?
This is really the criminal psych department speaking, Bill, but you're dealing with just what the papers say you are. A homicidal murderer.
So, why?
Murder is always on the verge of insanity, or, as we say, pre-psychotic. But murder without motive, pointless, disconnected, profitless killing, is psychotic. Whoever the man is, Bill, he's insane.
Hold it a second, Libby. Well?
I'm sorry, but I had to come. I couldn't wait any longer. I had to come.
What is this? Who are you?
My name is Liz Porter. You've got to help me. He's been missing for days.
Who has?
Leonard Walker, the boy I'm engaged to.
Look, missing persons you report at your local precinct.
I did, but all they've got on their minds is this Unknown Strangler scare. Oh, please help me. I'm so worried.
How long has your fiancé been missing, Miss Porter?
Since the evening of the 2nd of July.
Yeah, very interesting evening. And what's the last you saw of him?
Well, we'd been on a date. He brought me home. He drove away in his car.
What kind of a car does he drive?
A small sedan.
License plate?
It's 201G. Oh, I don't know. I just don't know. My mind's in such a fog.
Have a chair, miss.
Thank you.
Hello?
That's you.
Well?
Don't blow your top.
Thanks for carrying, but it's already blown. What's the news?
Bad. Another strangler victim.
Another? The Strangler again, Libby.
Oh, Bill.
What address?
No address. This one was staged in a car on a side road off Highway 11. Young guy about 25. No identification.
Young guy killed in his car. What about the license plate?
201G48N.
Just a second. Miss Porter.
Yes?
Could your boyfriend's license have been 201G48N?
Miss Porter.
She recognized the numbers when I said them. And she was right to faint. It was Leonard Walker, all right. He'd been sitting up straight in his sedan for 4 days and nights, with the Strangler's fingerprints around his throat.
July 20th, 1948. Call the Police on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Call the Police was the summer replacement series for Amos and Andy in 1947, 48, and 49, sponsored by Rinso, although I hear that some episodes were sponsored by Johnson's Wax. I don't know why they would be sponsoring that time slot, but who knows. Now more of Call the Police, July 20th, 1948, the case of the Unknown Strangler.
Number 3 for the Unknown Strangler was a young man named Leonard Walker. 3 motiveless, clueless murders in as many days. I channeled every available man into the hunt for the strangling maniac, but got nowhere until...
Bill?
Yes, Libby?
Remember I told you yesterday I thought I knew the way out of this? Well, now I'm sure I do.
I'm all ears.
I want you to meet someone, Bill. He's outside now. His name is Dr. Bernard Rayburn. He's an expert on abnormal psychology.
What can I lose? Show him in.
Won't you come in, Dr. Rayburn?
Thank you.
Dr. Rayburn, this is Commissioner Grant.
How are you, Doctor?
How do you do?
Miss Tyler seems to think you can give us a lead on this strangler, Doc.
I can tell you that he's an obviously schizophrenic type.
Meaning?
Among other things, that even he, very probably, doesn't know that he's the strangler.
How does that work, Doc?
On a principle of phasial changes. 1 minute the man may appear quite rational, whereas at the next he can become a monstrous personality. And remember nothing at all of his actions when he shifts back again to the rational phase.
Yeah, I get the picture. And it's a tough one to deal with.
Yes, I agree, Commissioner. But I think by an analysis of his crimes, one might arrive at something very like an identification.
And you? Could you make that analysis?
I can't promise you anything, but if you'll give me your records and notes covering the murders, I'll try to assemble some facts. They may even include a fairly dependable sketch of the killer's physical appearance.
By now I liked the man, and I knew also that he'd deliver. So I gathered together our meager records and packed them off to do his work. An hour and a half later, the tireless Sergeant Maggio walked into the office.
Here's a little jigger to add to your collection.
What's that?
I took a last look at Leonard Walker's car and found it stuck under the front seat cover. It's the cap of one of those newfangled dry-point pens.
Maybe it belonged to Walker.
I'm going to check on that. I called Miss Porter, and she's coming over after work to see if she recognizes it.
Uh-huh.
They tell me you had an interview with a nut doctor.
I talked things over with Dr. Rayburn.
Where's he now? Laundering his straitjackets?
Getting his work done, which isn't a bad idea for everybody on this case. The next day was the 8th of July, and a very eventful day it was, because at a little after 7 that evening, a school teacher named Miss Rosie McMahon was hurrying across the lonelier stretches of Burgoyne Park to beat an oncoming storm.
Who are you? What do you want? No. No.
Come here.
Go away.
Come here.
Let me alone. Let me alone. Help.
Okay, boys, let's have him trapped.
Take it easy now, Bo.
You make a mistake. Let me loose. Let me loose.
Sorry, but you tried it once too often, Strangler.
When they brought him in, I took a look at him, and I was amazed. A little thin-faced man with steel-rimmed glasses and tobacco-stained mustache.
No, you are wrong. I not do something, only stop nice lady to ask for cigarette. Hinderman do no harm.
No, too bad about Hinderman. Sugar wouldn't melt in Hinderman's mouth. But take a look at what we found when we went over him.
What's that?
Key ring.
Man can carry key ring.
Man can also explain why his ring features this particular key. Look at the tag on it, Chief.
Huh?
Key to the basement of 894 Tyson Street.
894 Tyson?
Well, that's the address of the Abley woman.
Strangler, victim number 1. And maybe you also remember the address of lawyer Crocker, number 2.
For sure. 54 Fulham Street.
Exhibit B from the same key ring.
Hinderman make no harm for somebody. Hinderman
What are you
only
doing with these keys?
make a living. Only make a living.
He says he works as a part-time janitor in both buildings. Kinda coincidence, huh, Commissioner?
Wait a minute. 894 Tyson, 54 Fulham. Where does Leonard Walker's girlfriend live? That Miss Porter?
Dale Avenue, the Horton Apartments.
And this last chivalry takes place in Burgoyne Park.
So?
Debbie, give me a map of Ashland.
There's one here on the wall.
That'll do, thanks.
Well, what are you doing, Chief? Plotting a new civic project?
I'm drawing.
What?
The area of the Strangler's activities. Bounded on the north by Fulham Street. On the south by Tyson Street. On the east by Dale Avenue. And the center of the territory is Burgoyne Park.
You got something.
I got at least geography. The Strangler has operated in this penciled section. Every murder has either occurred in this area of these 3 blocks or has been tied up with it one way or the other. Hinderman?
Yeah, mister, yeah.
You're under arrest for the murders of Francis Abley, Joel Crocker, and Leonard Walker.
No, I know do something. I know do something. You can't tell me I do something.
We lifted the hysterical Hinderman into my office. And Libby pointed out that we get nowhere with him until he had recovered a little. According to her, an injection of liquid Nembutal would tide him over his panic. And this she brought from the lab.
I don't hear. You can't do
All right,
that to
Bill.
me. I know.
Help him onto the sofa. Okay, that's right.
Yeah, get the needle ready. He's in bad shape.
All right, I will.
Commissioner,
Miss Porter.
you sent for me?
Just a minute, Libby. It was about this fountain pen cap found in Walker's car. Was it his?
No, that wasn't Leonard.
Okay, thanks. Obviously, it belonged to the Strangler here. Now, if you just wait outside until...
Strangler. Hinderman.
You know him?
Know him? Why, yes, of course I know him. He insulted me once outside my apartment house. He killed Annie. He did it. He did it.
Miss Porter.
He did it, I tell you.
Get out of here, Libby, will you?
Come on, Miss Porter. Now try to calm down, please.
Maggio. Yeah? Help Miss Porter downstairs and put her in my car. I'll drive her home myself as soon as we finish inside.
Okay. Come on now, Miss Porter. Everything's gonna be all right.
Let's get back to Hinderman.
All right. Where were we, Bill?
About to give him a shot.
I don't want you to
Okay.
get... No.
Now, here's the needle. Hold his wrist, Bill.
I don't want you to.
Okay.
There we are. There we are.
All done.
All done. I'm going to get the desk at City Hospital and have him taken to the ward, Bill. He'll be better off there until he's well enough to answer questions.
He was sleeping peacefully, this man whose one love was murder. I looked down at him, fascinated by the sheer evil of his face. And then...
I
leaned forward, hovering over him to catch an unconscious confession. When suddenly, his head came up under my chin, the bony skull catching me square on the button with the power of a mule's kick. My eyes bugged as the room started to do a swirling tarantella. And then, down I went, swaying off into Never Never Land, without a care in the world. When I came to, the couch was empty. Hinderman had been on his way for who knows how long. And then I saw it. A spot on the carpet not 3 feet from my nose. I smelt it. Nembutol. In those few minutes while we were lugging Liz Porter outside, Hinderman had emptied the needle and filled it again so that we gave him an injection of Aqua Pura. H2O. Water. When the full impact of what had happened hit my muddled brain, I grabbed the phone and began to shout, turning every able-bodied gun-toting man in the force into the chase and hem-stitching the borders of Ashland with a ring of squad cars. After that, Libby and I staggered out for something to revive us. She was trying to cheer me up, I remember, telling me not to despair when suddenly, just as we neared the car...
Bill.
Huh?
Bill, look. Look. Look.
I looked. Through the window of my car, I saw Liz Porter smiling out at us. On second glance, I saw that the smile was really the toothy grimace of her last attempt for that final gasp of air that hadn't come. Elizabeth Porter had met the Strangler, face to face. No reviving Liz Porter. 4 days, 4 murders, and the Strangler was still ranging the town with his fingers curled like the talons of a buzzard.
What are we going to do, Bill?
Call the governor. I'm putting this in his lap. It takes 1,000 more men to cover this city. I need the militia.
Bill.
Bill me no bills. Death has come to stay, baby. Hello, State Capitol?
No, Commissioner, this is Dr. Rayburn.
Oh, hello. Hello, how you doing, Doc?
Fine. I've got some material for you, as I promised.
On the Strangler?
Yes.
We know who he is, Doc.
Congratulations.
But he slipped us.
Now, this may help you pick him up again. Come on over.
Rayburn lived in a comfortable brownstone on Chestnut Street. We sat over his dining room table drinking cold beer and examining what amounted to the work of genius.
Now, take a look at this sketch, Commissioner.
Yeah. Who is this, Doc?
It's a picture of the Strangler.
Huh?
It's not exactly a camera portrait, Grant, but it's been discovered recently that all mental illnesses have similar physical correlatives. In other words, this is what the Strangler must look like based upon his symptoms.
I get it. You're okay, Doc. You're okay.
You can study it for a moment while I get my other notes.
I did study the sketch. And the longer I looked at it, the more I realized that it looked nothing like Hinderman. But I had the strange feeling that it looked like somebody I knew.
Now, here are the balance of the notes. I want to jot in a couple of remarks, then you can have them.
He took out his fountain pen and began to make additions in the margins. And as I stared at him, the short hairs on the tender part of my nape stood up as sharp as quills. It's a nice suit, Doc.
This one?
Yeah. You could damage it, you know, carrying that pen in your pocket without a cap.
I know. I'm a careless man at best. I lost the cap the other day.
Where?
Why, I don't know.
I think I do.
You think you do?
Yeah. You lost it, Doc, where it was found, in Leonard Walker's car.
Leonard Walker? He was one of the victims, wasn't he?
Number 3, to be exact.
How could I have lost it in his car? I never laid eyes on him.
Here's the cap. Maggio found it yesterday. I'm afraid you laid more than eyes on him, Doc. I'm afraid you laid hands on him.
Let me see that thing. Thanks. It is mine. There's a crack down the middle. I dropped it and stepped on it the day before it disappeared. Grant.
I know, Dr. Rayburn.
Me.
This street, Chestnut Street, comprises the fourth side of the square in which the Strangler is operated.
And it all comes together. July 20th, 1948. Call the Police here on Classic Radio Theater. The conclusion along with another episode of Claudia up next. But first, these words.
You ever make a change and then think, why didn't I do this years ago? Well, that's how people feel about switching to Medishare for their health care, especially now with inflation the way it is. People are very happy with the savings. Most families save about $500 a month when they switch. It's a huge help when prices are going up so fast in so many other areas. And Medishare's customer satisfaction rate is double that of health insurance. It's just a different experience, and people really like that. Medishare is an alternative to health insurance. It's a community of Christians who share each other's healthcare bills, and it's been going strong for over 25 years. It really is the gold standard, the most trusted name in healthcare sharing. Find out why people love it, find out why they rave about the customer service, and find out how good it feels to save some money right now. They're super easy to talk to. Here's the number, 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE, 833-34-BIBLE.
Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, the conclusion of the summer replacement for Amos and Andy. Call the Police in the case of the Unknown Strangler, July 20th, 1948.
Also, take a look at the picture you drew.
Yes, it does look like me. How could I have missed it?
So, diagnose for me, Doc.
My diagnosis stands. Advanced schizophrenia.
And who's my strangler?
I can hardly believe it. I am.
Prescription, Doc?
Get me to headquarters. Quick.
We said nothing on the way downtown. We said nothing as we started up in the elevator. I looked at him, feeling sorry for a nice guy who was very, very sick. And what I saw as I looked meant nothing to me. I'd never seen a facial change occur. And it's difficult for anyone to see, so I wasn't prepared when the elevator stopped. After you, Doc.
Turn loose! Turn loose!
I went down, falling across the elevator entrance. And I didn't know that Libby was in my office. And she didn't know Rayburn is anything but a nice guy.
Hello, Doctor. Where's Bill?
Bill?
Bill Grant. Commissioner Grant. He was with you, wasn't he?
Yes. He was.
Oh, well, I hope he hurries. I've got news for him. Maggio just called. They've picked up Hinderman.
Hinderman?
Yes, Hinderman the janitor. The strangler. They found him hiding in the basement of an old house. Well, don't you realize what that means, Dr. Rayburn? Everything you and Bill have been through, it's all over. Finished.
Finished.
No more murders, no more terror, no more innocent victims. They've got the strangler. What are you laughing at? Are you trying to make fun of me? Dr. Rayburn, what's the matter? What's the matter? Doctor!
What brought me to the surface was... And that same force dragged me out of the elevator. And down the hall, I saw the glass door with my name on it. William Grant, Police Commissioner. Ashland. Not strong enough to open it. I lunged forward and fell through. He swung around. And in that moment, as he tottered back, the change occurred. Dr. Rayburn snapped back, himself again. And there was more surprise than accusation in his eyes as he said,
Why did you do that, Grant? Why?
And the terror was over. And Libby and I, we tried to forget.
So, Hinderman was all coincidence. Sick enough, but definitely not the killer.
That's about it. Now let's not talk about it, huh?
This thing. It can happen to anybody, and you never know a thing about it.
It doesn't happen unless you're the type, sweetheart. And you get warnings, don't worry.
Such as?
Well, you take me. The last year or so, I've felt a peculiar sort of thing. Tightening of the pulses, heightening of the blood pressure, quivering around the heart.
Really, Bill?
Yeah. It comes on at certain times.
What times?
Times when I look at you, baby.
Bill. Oh, now stop. Stop. Oh, Bill Grant.
This is Bill Grant. It's with considerable pride that I present this week's Call the Police Plaque of Valor and Cash Award to an heroic Deputy Inspector of Police, James MacArthur of Cleveland, Ohio. MacArthur's deed of valor was reported by San Giaimo, chief police reporter of the Cleveland Press. Shortly after midnight, the police broadcast announced that a robbery was in progress in a coffee shop in downtown Cleveland. MacArthur, who was cruising in the district, sped to the scene of the holdup. Without thought to his personal safety, he ripped open the door and confronted a group of armed bandits. As MacArthur stepped into the room, 3 bullets whizzed past his head. He drew his revolver and fired. One of the gunmen went down, wounded. The other 3 tried to escape, but MacArthur blocked their exit at gunpoint. The 4 bandits were sentenced to 10 to 25 years in Ohio State Penitentiary. His swift action, his cool courage and gallant devotion to duty are in keeping with the highest traditions of the police forces of America. Congratulations to Deputy Inspector James MacArthur, Chief George J. Matowitz, and the entire police department of Cleveland, Ohio.
George Petrie was starred in the role of Bill Grant. Music was arranged and conducted by Ben Ledlow. This is Hugh James reminding you to be with us again next week when Lever Brothers Company, makers of new Rinso with Solium, bring you another exciting police case. Listen next week to...
The case of the Mandarin's Macaw.
July 20th, 1948, Call the Police on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, another episode of the soap opera Claudia. This was originally broadcast July 20th, 1948. It's that fun time, naming the baby.
And now, Claudia.
Mama, you got any more safety pins?
Claudia, take the pins out of your mouth. They're in the little box on top of the dresser.
My hands are full.
I suppose that means I'm to come in and give them to you.
You doing anything else?
Would it matter? All right, here I am, at your service.
Thank you.
You've got 2 pins. What do you want with more?
I am experimenting.
You are, eh?
I think that with a couple of extra pins, I can get his shirt held down neatly.
Look, Claudia, babies have been pinned into diapers for centuries. 2 pins have always been enough.
Mama, you trying to stop the wheels of progress?
No, but I'm against fruitless experiments.
Oh, I suppose that's what every genius was told when he tried to find a new way to do old things. Hey, keep still, Skeezix. Hey, Mama, where are you going?
Does it take 2 of us to pin on one diaper?
I thought you'd be interested in watching how skillful I've become. Now, come here now, Snookums. I'll just roll you over on your tummy.
Roll is right. He's a fat little thing.
You know, I don't know what's supposed to be so beautiful about babies. If I walked around with rolls of fat where he has them, no one would look at me twice. On a baby, everybody makes a big fuss.
Don't complain as long as he's healthy. He's very handsome, too. I refuse to talk about it anymore, and he doesn't care what you think. He knows his grandmother loves him, doesn't he?
He hasn't said a word. When are you going to learn to talk, funny face?
Aren't you ever satisfied, Claudia?
I'm satisfied. So satisfied, I'm afraid to even think about it. Now, Snookums, you're all pinned up.
Claudia, this has got to stop.
What has?
Calling that child Snookums, Skeezix, and Funny Face. It's time we called him something.
I'm calling him lots of things.
Well, that's what I mean. Poor child, he'll get shell-shocked.
Oh.
Skeezix, what a name.
We've discussed a name for him. Why, just last night. But it's not as easy as it sounds, Mom.
Other people managed to find one.
We are not other people. Besides, I'd rather not call him anything than call him by the wrong name.
No name would be wrong compared to what he's been hearing.
Oh, poor little Skoogums. Grandma says you've got to have a name. What name would you like? Oh, I don't think anybody'd be able to spell that.
The minute David comes home, I'm going to see that he takes the bull by the horns.
Can't decide just like that, Mama.
Like what?
Just like that. We've got to think about it more.
You have been thinking about it for weeks. If you don't make up your minds just like that, you never will. Why, that child will get an inferiority complex growing up without a name.
He already has Norton. What's the matter with that?
Norton.
Oh, Mama.
I hope he'll wear it well and do it justice.
He will.
But he has to have a front half, too. So let me know when you've decided. I'll keep dinner waiting.
It's your idea, so you have to help us.
It's your son, so you have to decide.
Hello, hello.
Mr. Norton, Sr., come in, come in, come in. We were just talking to you about Junior.
No? Where are you?
Where do you think we are?
I don't know. Just where I think you are, I suppose. Keeping that child from getting a decent day's sleep.
Oh.
Hello, all.
Hello, you all. Am I going to get a kiss?
I thought you were telling me last night it's not sanitary to kiss.
That is babies.
Oh, you were different.
Very, so kiss me and shut up.
Hello, Mother, before I go down for the third time.
Not one greeting for your son, David.
Hiya, Skibo. How you doing?
He's doing fine. And David, listen, before you do anything else, there's something Mama says you have to do.
Something else I have to do?
Mm-hmm.
It's much more important than kissing Claudia.
More important to Mama, but not to me, darling.
I'm going to disinherit that grandson of mine if you don't give him a name this minute.
What does Fatty need a name for?
For exactly that reason. Fatty? Terrible, my grandson.
You see, David, Mama's getting neurotic on the subject.
Oh, he won't answer to his name for years, so what's the hurry?
It's the principle of the thing.
Well, give him a principle, Claudia.
Yes, that's the principal thing.
Where's your hat, David? I'll cut up lots of little pieces of paper and put a name on each, and you can pick one out.
Say, that's a good way to do it, seeing as what we decide now to call him is going to stay with him for his whole life. Say, it is a responsibility, isn't it?
What's in a name? A rose by any other name?
That's fine for flowers, but not for little boys. I'm not going to budge until we've dubbed him.
Say, Mama, how did I happen to be called Claudia?
I don't know. You just looked like a Claudia when you were born.
What's a Claudia look like?
Like you.
You're a big help.
I have a better idea. A really modern, progressive idea. Now, why don't we wait until he grows up? Then, when he sees for himself what he's like, he can choose a name for himself.
What are we supposed to call him till then?
Blank.
Mr. Blank Norton. Yep, it's all right with me.
Very good. You two, you're impossible. All right, if you won't help, I'll decide all by myself.
Well, do we have to do it this minute?
This minute, before we leave the room. And we're going to choose it right in front of him, too.
Oh, much more accurate with the subject present.
May I sit down?
Pull up a bed, David.
Thank you. We'll never call him by his name anyway.
We won't?
I won't.
But I will.
We'll see. Look at him. He's so microscopic.
Oh, he's not.
Any name we give him will be too much for him.
Well, let's try giving him a small name.
Then he'll grow up to be big, and his name will be too small for him.
You make it sound so complicated.
Oh, it is. It is.
Can't we find a nice medium-sized name? You know, so to keep one foot on each side of the road.
Compromise. No, I don't like fancy names.
No, neither do I.
I don't think he's going to be a very fancy little boy.
He better not be.
Let's give him a name that'll sort of give him something to sort of live up to. You know, a name that has character.
Well, name one.
How's George?
George?
Mm-hmm.
For him? No, George is not for him.
How do you know? He isn't anything yet.
What are Georges like, David?
Well, by George, would you mind passing me my monocle, old boy? I'll have another cup of tea.
I know some very nice Georges. I knew a George once who was a truck driver.
Truck driver?
Very
No
nice.
son of mine would be called George Norton, no.
I see what you mean.
Let's see. What about, Henry?
Henry?
Henry Norton.
You want him to grow up to be bald and wear rimless glasses and have braces on his teeth when he's 7?
But I knew a nice Henry once.
I don't think your son looks like a Henry either.
What does he look like if you're so smart?
Puddinhead.
Oh, fine. Call him Puddinhead. I rather like that. Puddinhead Norton.
Mm-hmm.
Has a very nice ring to it.
P.H. Norton.
My hair is rapidly turning white, clear through.
Well, let's try and pick a name with a little romance.
Oh, lots of romance.
Such as?
Ravenel. Young Ravenel Norton. How does that sound?
Oh, if I had a son called Ravenel, he'd have to marry a girl called Georgiana. And I don't think I could bear to have a daughter-in-law called Georgiana.
But if he were called Ravenel, he could swing a cane, wear a top hat, and be ever so gallant. Way down upon the...
Oh, that might not be such a bad idea after all.
David, be serious. In 2 minutes, I have to put dinner on.
Well, can't we sleep on it?
On what, on dinner?
Oh, a comedian in the house.
Yes. We've been sleeping on it long enough. So long that we've gone to sleep on the job. We have to call him something.
Mama's right. How's, Edward?
Edward who?
Another comedian in the house. Move over, David. I want to be the end man.
Edward's a nice, simple name.
No, there's not enough character. No bones in it.
Bones? Well, he doesn't have any bones. Look at him.
He has no muscles either. How about a muscular name?
You know, there's something to say for having girls. Girls' names are prettier.
Well, if you think you're going to foist a pretty name on my son, you're tooting up the wrong tree.
I'm not tooting up any tree, but I don't like Edward Norton. Eddie Norton. Ed Norton? No, doesn't sound right.
What's the matter with David?
Nothing's the matter with David.
Except David says he won't have his son called after him.
Why not?
It gets much too complicated. My son has a right to his own name. I'm not going to have him go through his life being called Junior. His life of his own to live. He'll have to make his own name mean something, too.
That's very humble of you, David.
Oh, not at all. Very conceited. This boy has to stand on his own 2 feet. He's not going to get by on his father's reputation.
What reputation?
Bad reputation.
Well, I'm glad you straightened that out.
Oh, this is all very well and good, but we're not getting any place.
Well, can't we get into the dining room? I'm hungry.
And so is your son, hungry for a name.
Well, there's Percival, Rupert, Egbert, Albert, Arnold, Ambrose, Archibald.
Well, that's all for the A's.
Chop off their heads.
Then there's Bertram, Bernard, Barney.
That's all for the B's.
Then there's Charles.
No.
I know.
What do you know?
John.
Oh, I love John. But I hate Jack, and all Johns are Jacks.
Well, ours doesn't have to be.
John. John Norton. It's not bad. How do you like John Norton, Skoogums? You there, sleepy face?
He doesn't like John.
How's William?
Oh, all Williams are Bills. I don't like William, but I love Bill.
Bill. Silly Billy.
And they might call him Willie.
Oh, no son of mine shall be called Willie. Willy-nilly.
I still think we ought to let him decide in years to come.
No dinner until you decide.
If the right name just doesn't hit us between the eyes, just too bad.
What about Spud or Bud or Pud?
No.
What about Mickey or Ricky or Mike?
Oh, he is not going to have freckles. I forbid it.
He's not going to have a name at this rate.
David, don't you feel anything hitting you between the eyes?
Only the back of my hand.
Oh, I'm getting hungry.
Now listen, you two. Come on. Let's quit kidding. We know it's all settled. That is, at least, I know.
You do?
I do. It's been settled for years and years and years.
It has?
If you'd stop and think for a minute, Mrs. Norton, you'd know your son's name as well as I do.
I would.
Mm-hmm. Think, darling.
I'm thinking.
Claudia, you don't have to wrinkle up your face like that. It can't be such an effort.
Well, darling?
David, tell me.
How do you like Robert?
I've always liked Robert. There's nothing particularly the matter with Robert. It's nice.
What about you, Mrs. Brown?
Robert's a nice name.
You bet it's a nice name. I hope my son can live up to it.
He'll have a long ways to reach up.
David, I'm getting suspicious.
You are, Mrs. Brown? I just want to say, I just hope my son will grow up to be as fine a man as I'm sure Robert Brown was.
I didn't know you knew.
We'd be proud if you'd let us borrow the name of your husband, Mrs. Brown.
Don't do this for me.
We're not, Mama. We're doing it for us. For old sleepy face over there.
Then it's all settled. And Robert it is.
Robert Norton. I like the way it sounds.
Well,
I like
Bobby?
it, too.
Bobby, what do you think about it? Well, speak up, man.
He's so impressed with himself he can't say anything. Oh, darling, you're so very sweet and thoughtful.
Sweet? I'm just looking for the way to thank your mother and father for you.
And for Bobby.
Atta boy, Skeezix. Oh, I beg your pardon, old man. Bobby, come to Daddy.
Of course, I don't know firsthand, but I hear tell that trying on dresses in warm weather is one of the world's most trying occupations. No puns intended. Yet women have to buy dresses. Next time shopping is too much for you, just look around for that friendly red sign and pause for ice-cold Coca-Cola. There'll probably be a Coke cooler right around the corner, waiting to help you shop refreshed.
What do you think of David's choice of names, Mr. King?
I think it's a very fine one, Mrs. Brown. Robert Norton.
It was a lovely gesture on David's part to name my grandson after my husband.
How much as David won't admit it, he's pretty proud of that boy of his.
Well, he is his father.
And much as he'll try not to act like his father, he'll end up just the same, like all the rest of us.
You think so?
Well, I even think that someday David will even end up with a picture or 10 or so in his wallet of Master Bobby Norton.
I'll have to see that to believe it.
Well, come around tomorrow, Mrs. Brown.
I most certainly will. Till then, goodbye, Mr. King.
Goodbye, Mrs. Brown. Every day, Monday through Friday, Claudia comes to you transcribed with the best wishes of your friendly neighbor who bottles Coca-Cola. So listen again tomorrow at the same time. And now this is Joe King saying au revoir.
From July 20th, 1948, Claudia on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day. Would you please thank this radio station and support their advertisers? It is their kindness and courtesy that allows us to be with you each and every time we're here on your favorite radio station. And if you miss a day, you don't have to miss a single show. You can find all of our shows available for play on demand at classicradio.stream. That's classicradio.stream. There you can stream the shows. You can learn more about classic radio collecting. You can find a listing of places where you can download the shows for offline listening. And you can also find our social media links. You can find also the link to email me directly. And you can also buy me a coffee. And the Buy Me a Coffee link allows us to acquire more great classic radio shows. And you, I hope, will appreciate them very, very much. classicradio.stream. classicradio.stream. Thank you for tuning in. Tell all your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite radio station.